Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coach Krisler's Convos. I am joined today by Roberta. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Krisler. I'm just so happy to be here and to have this opportunity to share my story with you and your audience. And hopefully we're going to inspire a lot of women to there's hope. If you're not feeling your best, there is hope and you're not alone. So yeah,
that is the whole point. Yes, thank you so much. That's the whole point of this. If you are new to Coach Krisler's Convos, exactly what Roberta said is the point, is to just to share people's stories and to remind you that you're not alone and that there is hope out there. So before we get to Roberta's health journey, Roberta, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Roberta. I live in Houston now. I live in Texas, but I am originally from Brazil. So that's why the accent. So yeah, so I've been here now for 13 years. I used to work as a dentist and acupuncturist in Brazil. And then I got married, and then we moved to Asia, and then we moved to here. So yeah, and it's so that's I have two little boys, 8 and 11 years old, and I've been working as a health coach for 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, dentistry and acupuncture. That is something, at least in the States, we would not put together in the same practice. That's very, very interesting. How cool. And also something that I didn't realize we had in common is I also have 2 little boys. And at the time of this recording, they are 11 and 8. So how funny is that?
Yes.
So I want to turn our attention and spend a little time talking about your health journey. But maybe first, tell us a little bit about why you became a health coach in the first place.
I love this question. And really coaching, I see coaching as an opportunity to share all the knowledge that I have in all the aspects, like because I've been through dentistry and Chinese medicine and, in all my own research for answers, so I did this trauma certification. And so, I like to say that I am very curious, so I found the perfect profession, and it's really a mission and a purpose for life now. And that I am able to put it all together to help people, searching for answers in their own stories. So, and you asked me how I came into coaching. It was really this all about like finding answers, like for myself, for my kid, for my son, and then for my sister, so it's a long story. So, so it wasn't, maybe sometimes you need more when it's for you. You kind of think that, oh, I can handle, like, and you keep like you're in survival mode and you're like keep pushing yourself to do things, and you don't really take the extra step to change. But when it's for your son, changes the whole perspective, right? So so it was not really for myself, but it was more like to help to find the right answers for my son and my sister. So
So I have talked to several parents over the course of the time that I've been doing the conversations. And, many parents have, yes, done things for themselves, but a lot of them really are wanting to make sure that their children are healthy, stay healthy, or help their children if they have a specific condition or issue that they're working on. So was that the case for your son? Was there something diagnosed? How did that come about?
Yeah, it's a great question because actually in conventional medicine, you need a diagnosis, right? You need to have a diagnosis to be able to move forward with treatment or whatever, right? And in functional medicine, we understand that before we get a diagnosis, there are so many things that need to happen, right? And there's a lot of imbalances, and actually see this timing as the perfect timing to correct those imbalances, right? Well, and so my story began with my son. He was born in Asia. He was born 5 pounds. He was 5.1. He was always very small.
Yeah.
And then he started with a lot of digestive issues. And and then I heard like so many weird things from all that. We went to different doctors, and it was always like, oh, he's got reflux, or he would eat and vomit, or he would have diarrhea. And he was a baby, and by that time, nobody talked to me about like food intolerances, right? Or anyways, I'm just, so it was very hard. It was very hard until we found a nutritionist that had this functional medicine approach to nutrition. And the whole game changed. And then I learned.
Was this your first child?
My first one.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So already, there's challenges with being a first-time parent, right? It's just new all around. So you're not quite sure what's normal for your child, what's not. And so you're dealing with that probably, but then add on top of these issues that your child was having, and, you're getting this weird feedback from everybody that's not consistent. Yeah, man, what a challenge. What a challenging time.
Yeah, it was challenging. And, it's, of course, there's a place for conventional medicine, and I'm not saying, right, like but when it comes to behavior change, all the things that you do in your house, if you don't, products that you bring to your house, if you don't do your research, if you don't learn about these things, there's a lot that can impact your health and a baby's health. So so I'm so grateful that I found this nutritionist, and we got to a point where it got better. It was horrible. Like he would poop like 10 times a day, like when he was it was hard. So it's and then, but it got to a point where we needed more help. So we found a functional medicine doctor. We went through molds and all the, all of the things that the foundations of health, for him. What I was learning through that process is that it really changed the way I live and the way the whole family lived, and the whole. So it was hard, but I see that today we are all like more united, and we understand each other more, and we have all these, and we are healthier because of all those things.
Isn't it interesting that, it took this serious issue with your son for you to kind of begin this investigative process that ended up kind of bringing your family closer together, right? You were all going through it. And so it was affecting all of you, but the changes that you were making were also affecting all of you, and in such a positive way.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And going back to your question to why I became a coach, is that you go the doctor, and it's the best doctor or the best nutritionist, and you have a list of things to do, right? You're like, well, now you have to follow this diet. And in our case, my son, he was 8 years old, and we had to he had to go through an elimination diet. Can you imagine?
Wow.
An elimination diet, like with a 8-year-old. So got back and I'm like, what am I going to do this? I'm overwhelmed. I don't know. I don't even know where to start, and the doctor was amazing, but she didn't, coaching is something very new still. Not everybody, we still have to educate people.
Yeah.
And it's, so when I started researching, I learned, I went to, IFM and FMCA, and I'm like, oh, so there's a person who can help me with this.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's the whole thing. Like somebody that's going to walk the walk, hold my hand, keep me accountable, show me, help me create a plan so I don't feel overwhelmed. And that just sounded like amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to hire somebody. I'm just going to be that person.
Yeah.
But
just
like very, very naive, right? Because like coaches need coaches.
Yeah.
But that was my whole point, like wanting to do it so I could learn, I could navigate the whole situation better with my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but as soon as I started the course, I was like, oh, I think I need somebody to ask me those good questions that they're going to, so that was, so that was it. And I talked about my sister. So with my sister, when I was going through the course, when she was diagnosed with MS.
Okay.
So I started implementing, like experimenting with all the things that I was learning with her. And I was like, oh my God, this thing works, like it's amazing. So, and so she was my first client. And then I started coaching. Then today my niche, I work with women dealing with some kind of autoimmune condition. I started with MS, but now I'm like, so many people can benefit from those foundations of health that aren't really taught. Like you don't really talk about when you go to a doctor's office. Right. So why not? Right. So, and
I'm really curious about, your son. You mentioned working with this nutritionist that had a functional medicine approach. What did you notice? Kind of what were some of the first signs of positive change that you noticed with your son during this time?
It was very obvious because it wasn't hard to notice those changes. Because as I was saying before, he was, we would go to restaurants, Krisler, and he would, like vomit right on the table.
Oh my goodness.
If we were in the car and he would have to, oh, mommy, I need to leave. I have cramps. I need to leave the car. I need to walk. So he would have to walk, or, he would try to distract from the pain so bad. But it was, so it was obvious because as we started going through the elimination diet, we did a food sensitivity test, we went through the elimination diet, those symptoms subside. We didn't have that. He didn't have that anymore. It was very. And
so you were able to find through doing the elimination diet with your son what he was sensitive to, and keep those things out of his diet, or at least reduce them enough to where he wasn't experiencing those symptoms anymore.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. So, and it's healing, it's constant. right? So
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you, oh, today he doesn't have any digestive issues, he's perfectly fine, he doesn't have anything. I'm not going to tell you this, but now we feel like we've got the hang of it, we know what to do.
Yeah.
If he's got some issues, it's because we know it was Halloween, he had
Yeah.
some chocolate, we know what's going on. So
Mhm.
and that awareness is so
Yeah.
important. When
Yeah.
when we know about our bodies enough to understand all the things that are not serving us well, it's it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. That awareness and just listening to your body,
Mhm.
recognizing what it needs to be fueled properly and what needs to be left out so that you're not experiencing those symptoms and feeling poorly. So yeah, that is really key. Um, yeah, so now that with both of your boys, um, how are they doing? Are they pretty good? Do they have symptoms anymore? What are they like now?
That's a very good question. I feel like because of all the things that we went through, with him and his digestive issues, imbalances, now his body awareness is
Mm.
so interesting because he's now 11,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the whole challenge around food intolerances and food inflammation is that it's not something that you can pinpoint, right? Like,
Mm.
you eat this, you're gonna feel this way,
Right.
right?
Right.
And for him, he knows, like, he feels his joints now. It's
Mm.
not so much of the digestive thing. So he comes to me and him like, "Ay, mom, I shouldn't have had pizza at school." That's hard because he's eighth grade now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, everybody's having pizza, I want to have
Right.
pizza. And now I cannot be right there on top of him all the time.
Yeah.
So I let him decide, but so he makes conscious choices.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect all the time. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
perfect. And I don't expect him to be. But that awareness he has now. He, he's like, I feel my elbows, I feel
Mm-hmm.
my joints just because of that pizza that I ate yesterday. And I'm like, so, and then you go, and then you bringing those coaching questions, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like,
Absolutely.
so what are you gonna do about
Mm-hmm.
it? Yeah. And
Start that conversation.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then he goes, oh, there you go, mom, with your coaching voice again.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, yeah,
Well,
it's
how cool
interesting.
is it that he now has the skill and the awareness to recognize how his body is feeling and to know, oh, it was probably, this thing that I had, or, I think that that's something that we don't always understand,
Yeah.
that it could be something that we've had even 2 or 3 days prior
Yes.
that is
That's the
now
challenge.
has gone through our system and
Mhm.
is presenting those symptoms. And it isn't one of those things that's an immediate. I think we're so focused on the allergy where it's an immediate response and not necessarily just something that we are sensitive to. So kudos to your son for being able to recognize that and to say, yeah, this is how it's presenting. I'm feeling it in my joints, from the pizza at school yesterday or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah. And now looking back, Krisler, I think, and this is something that I always like to talk to have this conversation with my clients,
Mhm.
around, all these obstacles and challenges and, problems that we may have now in our
Mhm.
lives. They are really an opportunity for growth. and how can we turn those challenges into a gift and an opportunity to be a better person and grow and learn from it and really empower not just ourselves, but those around us as well.
Yeah.
So it's really, for us as a family, it was really a learning process in so many ways.
Yeah.
Um,
Really cool.
But it takes time. It takes time, right? Like you
It
may
does.
not see the gift right away. If it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you told me that, I would be like, oh, please.
No,
Please.
thank you.
Yeah.
That is not a gift I want to receive.
I'll pass that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love your perspective on this because it is something that does take time. It's not a quick fix. I think in our current world and our current medical system, at least in America, we are very diagnose and treat. It's got to be quick. What's the one pill I can take, the one exercise I can do, what's that magic amount of water? And it's like, no, this is a lifestyle, right?
Yes.
So you start in one place and you investigate and you change and you tweak and you learn and you grow and you add and you do little things, right, as you go along. And so it's really very much a process. It's really very much a journey. And as you get along in your journey, you learn and you do better, and then you share. Right. That's one of the greatest parts about coaching. And I'm sure you can attest to this too, is that then you get to share all the wonderful knowledge that you've built up and, have those conversations with people and see your clients experience those gains. It's a really, really wonderful place to be in.
Yeah. And how wonderful it is it to celebrate with our clients, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, right? Like to have to hold somebody's hands and I'm your coaches. That's how we are. Like we're so passionate about what we do, and it's like you said, like you go through things, and then when you have the opportunity to use those experiences as way to help others, make those difficulties, those times, like harder times, like not so hard, but
Yeah,
it's really
that's
powerful.
awesome. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about your sister. How long ago was she diagnosed with MS?
She was diagnosed 8 years ago.
Okay. And so at that point in time, was she given any sort of prognosis? Was she given medication? What was the kind of initial outcome of this diagnosis? What was she expected to do?
There's a lot that it's unknown still about MS. So the progression is really something that doctors cannot. The prognosis is very hard. It's not something easy to say. So the medications, they're used to help with the symptoms.
Okay.
And they say they will keep you from progressing.
So the focus at that time was more so, now that we have a diagnosis, we're going to give you these medications to keep it from getting worse.
Yes.
But there wasn't anything, at least initially, focused on helping her get better.
Yes. No. And I was learning about functional medicine at the time. And she would go back home, and she would tell, and I would ask her, so has the doctor talked to you about food, stress management, or she was really, of course, there's a grief, there's a grief process that goes, with all these, when you have a diagnosis like that. And there's no, so, and then she would go to see a doctor and come back, in the beginning every 3 months. Now she goes every 6 months. And what happens between, during that time that she's not seeing the doctor, and as I started learning about all this, I'm like, there's so much you can do to decrease inflammation in your body, and the main, I feel like the main symptom for MS is fatigue. Fatigue is very hard.
Yes.
It's debilitating. You cannot make, and when you're tired, you don't make good choices, right? Like, it's hard. How am I going to exercise if I'm so tired? How am I so, and in all the overwhelm that we were talking about earlier about my son, you multiply by 100 because you're just so tired that you cannot even think clearly about all the things that you have to do, right?
Yeah.
So so I feel, so we've been incorporating some lifestyle changes, like planning her day, and we talk about food as well, but it's not, and again, it's not only about food, right? Like, there's sleep, support system is very important. And with coaching, we are able to meet our client where they are. What do you need right now?
Yeah.
Right? How can I help you right now? What exactly do you need? And then we go from there. And with the conventional approach, there's no space for them.
Yeah.
There's not even time for them. So
yeah.
it's
What a beautiful thing that you offered this to your sister, but that she also accepted. I find that people who work in the health space that we do, especially in the area of functional medicine, natural medicine, they may offer the help, but people around them may not necessarily be willing to accept it. And so it sounds like your sister is willing to at least look into these things and to give them a try. And as you said, it's not just one thing. There's multiple areas that you can look into and address in order to improve your condition or just your overall general health. So now that you've been working with your sister for a little bit and looking at these different areas, how is she doing? Are you finding that she's progressing and making strides towards positive health?
Krisler, she got to a point where she was not walking.
Oh, wow.
She didn't lose her vision, but it was very blurry, and she couldn't see well. She used to be very tired. She would sleep like most of the time. And of course, she has her ups and downs. But just like my son, she knows what she needs to do. She's like, I need to rest. And for them, for her, and usually for people with MS, it's you need to be, for all of us, honestly, we all need to be very clear with our boundaries, right? Like, what can I do today?
Yeah.
You don't want to run on empty and burn extra fuel. For her, she doesn't really have. So she's doing good. She's thriving. She just got married, so she's
Wonderful.
happy. She's happy. She's fine, and it's that support. You know, sometimes it's not. And yes, medication is important, but like it's important to have that support system, love. You know, have
Yeah.
somebody to express love and to, and we're trained to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Compassion and with our training, we learn how to show compassion, because sometimes, like, and I remember looking back, I would think like, oh, but that's not what I mean, right? Like, oh, but I really wanted to help.
Yeah.
So now we have a technique that we can, right, like to show our empathy and compassion
Mhm.
in a way that it doesn't come across as something bad, or, you know, in a different way.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah.
all these just to say that, you know, presence is, you know, to have somebody, to have somebody there with you to walk the walk is so, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing everything you did about your son, and also about your sister. It's fantastic to hear that both of your children are doing well, and that your sister is just enjoying a wonderful life, and is experiencing better health these days. So if there's anybody out there who just, something resonated with your story, or they just want to talk with you or connect with you, um, is there social media they can follow, or an email they can send? Give us those details.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be more active on Instagram, but you can check my page there. I'm always like, at least twice a week, I'm there posting some videos, some cool videos. And so it's a simple life dot health coach.
Okay.
It's my IG, my account on Facebook, and I have my website. It's
Okay.
www.simplelifehealthcoach.com.
Okay. Awesome.
And yeah, so it's you can reach me through there. You can email me through the website or the Instagram. And yeah, and I would be so happy to share more about my story with you, about my son, about myself, about my sister, and to get to know y'all better. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I will share those details in the description. And for everybody who is watching, thank you so much for tuning in to Coach Krisler's Combos. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss any of this awesome content or any of these wonderful stories. And until next time, I will see ya. Bye.
Bye.